Welcome to Zeph's house. Come in out of the dark and pull the door shut behind you. Tonight's tale is called The Carrier. The thing about a road like Bray is that you can tell yourself it stays there. That whatever's wrong is wrong in that 1 mile of fog and corn, and the rest of the county goes on being the rest of the county. Backyards and grocery runs and kids' bikes dropped in driveways. I believed that for about 3 days. Then I stood in the stranger's backyard at 2 a.m, looking at a dead deer in the grass beside a child's swing set, and I understood that whatever was out on Bray Road had started making deliveries. Let me back up, because the night got there one careful step at a time. And the steps matter. After the 3 deer, we stopped going out to the road. Caldwell put a trail camera on the break point, a real one, the kind that sends the picture to a phone, and we sat in her office in the dark and watched the feed, which felt like the only sane thing left to do. You can't argue with a ditch at 2 a.m. You can watch it from a building with the lights on and pretend that's the same as being brave. The camera caught the possum first. Big-bodied in the infrared, rat-tailed dragon, face pale as a drop of milk. Nothing rare about a possum. But this one didn't move like an animal nosing for grubs. It moved like it had a route. It crept to the edge of that darker soil, and it stopped, and it sat, and it waited. And on the audio you could hear the crickets going, steady and normal, right up until they weren't. They cut out all at once, clean, like someone pinching a wire. A possum lifted its head. It didn't run. Something moved through the grass just past the camera's reach, a low, heavy line bending the weeds, and there was a sound I'd been hoping not to hear again, a wet, final impact. And then weight settling into mud, and the possum dropped. Not a scramble, not panic. A clean, practiced collapse, like a switch thrown. Playing dead, waiting for whatever had passed to finish and move on. We started calling it the Watcher. It seemed earned. And then, while the possum lay still in the mud, the camera got hit with light. Not its own infrared. A white beam swept in from somewhere high and to the left, field side, back by the tree line, a place a person could stand without headlights drawing their outline. One controlled pass. It found the camera, tightened, and struck the lens dead on, and the whole frame bloomed white and washed out. Half a second, then it clicked off. No voice. No footsteps, just the confidence of someone who knew exactly where that camera was. Larson said someone was out there messing with us. Caldwell didn't answer him because she'd already seen the part that mattered, and she made me watch it 3 times before she said it out loud. The light didn't come during the kill. It didn't come while the grass was still moving. It came after. In the narrow window, when the possum lifted its head and started to creep back, when the violence was over but the scene hadn't gone cold, the exact moment a person could walk up without stepping into it. "They're not searching," Caldwell said. "A man searching sweeps the whole ditch. This," she tapped the frozen flare, "this is a man checking a box." "Checking it happened," Larson said. "Making sure it ended," she said. That was the night it stopped being an animal problem. Because an animal doesn't keep a schedule, and it doesn't have someone standing in the tree line confirming its work. Somebody out there knew the rhythm, knew when it was safe to come close. They weren't hunting the thing on Bray Road. They were keeping its books. We did have a name in the running by then, though I didn't understand yet what kind of name it was. Randy Klein, road crew lead. He'd come through Caldwell's office that week with a county plan to widen the Bray Road shoulder and cap the wet ground where the legend trippers kept parking, Drainage, sightlines, liability, all of it so reasonable on paper that I hated it. Calm man, no swagger. The kind who believes the world is a series of problems you can flatten with enough gravel and paperwork. He shook my hand and said, "Wildlife consulting. That means folks call you when they don't like the answer they're getting." He wasn't wrong, and he wasn't smiling. Caldwell put her finger on the map, on the exact patch where the soil changed. The seam, though none of us called it that yet, and asked him why there. And Klein didn't look down at the map. He didn't ask what trouble we meant. He already knew which ground we were pointing at. "That's where folks slow down at night," he said, smooth as water. "Somebody's going to step in a ditch and break an ankle." Which was true, which explained nothing. Larson muttered that it was just dirt. Klein turned and looked at him, patient, almost kind. "Sure is," he said. He didn't say it like agreement. He said it the way Haskins had said it, like a man who'd learned a long time ago not to argue with the thing out loud in daylight where it might hear you take it lightly. He rolled up his plans. At the door, he paused, nodded at the culverts inked in blue, and said, "Easy as weather. That folks had been handling the possums out by those culverts like pets, and we ought to tell them to quit. You'll get bit." Then he was gone. No theatrics, no lingering. Normal. And the worst part of Randy Klein, the part I'd spent a long time learning, was how badly I wanted that normal to be a comfort. He knew the soil before he ever put a shovel in it. He knew which patch we meant before we pointed. A man doesn't come by that kind of knowing from a county work order. I filed it away. I file a lot of things away. Most of them come back. But the light in the tree line could have been Klein or Haskins or any of the men who worked that ground after dark and didn't advertise it. What I couldn't file away was the truck. Caldwell didn't post a deputy on Bray. She posted one 2 roads over, on a crossroad nobody films because it isn't famous. The kind of road you only drive after midnight if you live on it, or you don't want to be seen. Deputy named Gage. No lights, no stops, just watch the plates. At 1:11, my phone rang. Gage had a truck, old Ford, light bar on the back glass like a farm rig, running no headlights until it hit pavement, doing 45 and a 55, signaled every turn. Perfect. And I'll tell you, a perfect driver at 1 in the morning is either a saint or a man who knows exactly what a cop is looking for. 2 digits of the plate were packed over with mud, not splashed, packed. Gage didn't stop it. Nothing to stop it for. It went west and took the back cut. "There's more," Caldwell said, and I heard her not wanting to say it. When it passed Gage on the way out, the cricket stopped. Clean cut, same as the feed. A pause. It came back about an hour later, same truck. And the second time, nothing. Crickets the whole way through. Normal night. I sat in the dark and let that arrange itself, and when it did, it was the worst thing I'd understood yet. Crickets don't go quiet for a truck. They go quiet for what the truck is carrying. On the way out, it had the dirt. On the way back, it didn't. It hadn't come to check a camera and go home. It had come to deliver something. And it had somewhere to put it. The somewhere was a new development on the west side. Gray siding, white trim, little squares of sod still learning how to be lawns. By the time we got there, the cul-de-sac was awake, neighbors in hoodies, a man holding his phone up like evidence, because that's how fear travels now, screen to screen. Caldwell put them back in their houses with the flat voice she keeps for it and walked me around the side gate into the backyard. A deer lay near the rear fence, half in the shadow of the swing set. It hadn't been torn. Same as the coyote, same as the doe. One clean, exact thing, and the animal down where it dropped without a struggle, without waste. Whatever does this has never once been hungry. But this one was in a backyard, 40 feet from a sliding door, and the deer does not walk into a fenced suburban yard at 1 a.m. for any reason a deer has ever had. It hadn't come alone either. In the lawn by the fence were the heavy impressions I was learning to dread. Not hoof, not paw, longer, deeper, set down by something that stepped where it pleased and didn't care what it left. A section of fence slats was pushed out, not broken, just flexed, quiet, the way you make a gap when you don't want noise. The thing from the tree line had followed its work right up into a yard with a swing set in it. Caldwell asked the homeowner the questions that don't sound like they go together. Any landscaping lately? Anyone bring in fill? He pointed at a small pile of dark soil by the side gate. A contractor last week, filling low spots, new sod. It was darker than the rest of the yard, not by much, just enough that you'd call it rich, just enough to drop the floor out of my stomach. And near the deer's shoulder, rubbed into the grass like a thumb pressed into clay, there was a smear of that same dark mud, deliberate, placed. Then Larson came back from the driveway with his phone against his ear and his face going wrong, and he said the county road department had an old Ford running fill all week. No log entry, just showing up to help. A friend of the crew, light bar, same truck gauge watched go west. And Caldwell turned back to the homeowner and asked the question that put ice all the way through me. Did anyone bleed back here? Spreading that dirt? A worker, a nail, anybody break skin? The man's face went uncertain, and then it went gray because he remembered. My kid, he said. He scraped his knee on the side gate last night, chasing the dog. The yard got very quiet. Caldwell didn't raise her voice. She just got colder. Where's your son right now? Inside. Bring him to the front room. Don't let him touch the yard, the fence, his own shoes. Do you understand me? He nodded too fast and went, and we stood there, Caldwell, Larson, me, over a clean killed deer and a pile of dirt that didn't belong and a smear rubbed into a lawn on purpose. And I finally said the thing I'd been holding off because saying it made it real. It's not just happening out there anymore. Somebody's bringing it. A carrier, Larson said quietly. Caldwell didn't correct him. Here's the part I couldn't put down on the drive home, the part that turned the whole thing inside out. We've been calling the thing on the seam the monster, the heavy shape in the grass, the clean killer in the dark. But monster doesn't keep a schedule. And it doesn't kill the deer that walks toward the wrong dirt, and it doesn't stop at the edge of a yard once the thing it followed is dead. What if it wasn't the threat? What if it was closer to a keeper, something with its own rounds, its own accounting, that knew exactly when the window opened and when it closed, and spent every night closing it? Because if the thing in the dark was a guardian, then it had been doing its job out on Bray for as long as anyone could remember. And the only reason it was suddenly losing, the only reason the wrong ground was turning up next to swing sets, was that something had started moving the dirt faster than the guardian could clean it up. Which meant daylight wasn't safety. Daylight was just the part of the day the wrong ground got to hide in plain sight and wait for somebody's skin to open. I rubbed my thumb without deciding to. It had started to ache, low and deep, in a place I hadn't cut. Caldwell's phone buzzed before I could think too hard about that. She read it, and the color went out of her face the way it does when the number you were afraid of turns out to be real. We've got another one, she said. I asked where. She looked back at the swing set and the fence and the little pile of dark soil that some stranger had carried in from somewhere none of us had been yet. "Closer," she said. That's all for tonight. If this one stayed with you, leave a like and subscribe. There's a new strange tale every week. Sleep well, if you can.